Live from La Ciudad de Nueva York. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. What is up? How's everybody doing? What's up, RS? Hope you're well out there, man. Lou Rizzo, what's happening? 602 Phoenix is in the house. Good. We could start the show now. AD, what's happening? What's up, Joe Frank? Good, good. Hey, Victoria. What do you say, hon? I hope you're well. Wow, London checking in. What's up, John? I hope you're well, buddy. What's going on? Yes, Rich Zoller. Yeah. Good. You know, I think we have a couple new faces this show because we're doing something a little bit different. Is that right? What's happening, Todd, in Miami? I'm on a plane in the morning, bro. I'm on my way down there. My film is screening. Hey, come on now. Good to see you, Randy. All right. Good. That's great. Hey, Brian. I hope you're well, buddy. This is going to be a great show. I'm very excited about today's show. We got an old friend coming on, and I'm going to talk about some music that I'm really passionate about, and that really had a big effect on me growing up, shaped the person that I am. What's up? Hey, Coletti, what's happening? Connecticut in the house. Anthrax, here we go. Good for you, buddy. Belfast. What did I just Oh, you know what I just saw, Chris Andrews, that was interesting? Did you see the DeLorean documentary? It's in a couple parts. Interesting, John DeLorean documentary. He built those DeLoreans in Belfast, and it was quite a mess. All right. Hey, Tony. All right. Yeah, listen, we're going to be talking some Brooklyn in the house, too. There's going to be some Brooklyn. There's a lot going on today. That said, what's happening in the train yards of Queens?
What's up? From Brooklyn to
What
Queens.
the hell is that behind you? What is that up on the? Is that a TV screen or what is that? Is that art?
No, that's one of those annoying paintings that you have to squint at and something jumps out of it.
The fuck is the point? What the fuck is the point of that?
It's my boss's. I have no idea. I've never been able to see anything in it.
Yeah, like I'd like stare at that and like have a conniption and like out and like have a seizure and like.
Yeah, no, it's been here for 9 years. I can't see a goddamn thing.
Yeah, it looks like. Yeah. Who buys that shit? Your boss.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck is this?
And he retired, and it's still there.
Listen, you know what? Throw that shit in the Gowanus Canal, bro.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Fucking Gowanus. All right. Hey, we got something a little bit pretty cool today.
Yeah, I think so.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, photo of the day. Can anybody guess what this is? Yeah. What do we got here? Anybody? What do we got here? Something a little different, but very cool. Anybody? Is it LOL? Where is Steve? Well, Steve's on. It depends on which Steve you're talking about. Steve Messina's on the screen right now. What's the matter? This Steve's not good enough for you?
I'm Spartacus.
Chris Mendez? Fucking come on. Yo, let me tell you something, Chris Mendez. Well, come on this fucking show looking for trouble, bro. Steve Austin's going to be on in a little while. Is it Saruman? Isn't it? It is Saruman.
That is Saruman. Yes.
Yeah. Is it good one? Is it Johnny Winter? Is it Merlin the musician? Is it Jesus hypnotizing an apple?
Is that the fruit of the day?
Yeah, right. By the way, the New York Hardcore mango got eaten this morning. Is it Hello Elisa? Is it
That's not Elisa.
Is it I gave $1 to that guy this morning. Let's see. Wait, there's another one. Here's another one. Here we go. Another one, just like the other one. All right. Is this about Jorma? Yes. Listen, hold your fucking horses. Yes, this is a Hot Tuna retrospective. But can I start my fucking show? Can we get the shit on? Can we do our routine? Are we not moving fast enough for you? You know, these fucking Hot Tuna and these Grateful Dead people, they're just like, they just want it and they want it now. God damn.
They're angry at the hardcore people.
Just relax. Hold your horses. There's a format to this show, my friend. Be patient. We're gonna talk about Hot Tuna until you crap on you. Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's causing trouble.
All right. Yeah. All right. Right answers only, please. Is it?
Yes.
Is it Lord of the Rings? Is it the Lord of the Rings Symphony? Is it Lord of the Rings? Is it the Lord of the Rings Orchestra? What is this?
Yes. As a matter of fact, this is last night at Radio City Music Hall, that is, in New York City. I believe it was the first of four nights for the 21st anniversary of the first film, Fellowship of the Ring. They showed the film with a live orchestra, and it was very cool. Like, I'm a massive fan of these movies, and I'd never seen something like this before, where they literally, you know, you watching them, like the entire thing played live with, like, God knows, 100 people up there, something. But it was very cool, and it had an intermission. It was very, you know, I mean, look at that. I mean, there's a whole choir in there. It's really something. I mean, my mind is blown by.
Wasn't that a really long movie?
Oh, well, the funny part is that each of the movies in the theater was 3 hours, but after that, Peter Jackson put out the director's cuts of each one, and now each one is actually over 4 hours. And you watch the 4 hour one, and you wonder how they were able to cut any of it. So when I haven't watched the theatrical release in so long, I felt like I was like, wow, this thing is like speeding along.
There you go.
But it was great, and I wonder if they're going to do for next year, if they'll do the Two Towers and then the Return of the King. But amazing, you know, to see it with such a big, you know, production like that.
Hey, and, since this is a side trip show, and
yes.
You know, and a couple people are like, Paulie Porkchop says he saw Iron Maiden with Queensryche at Radio City Music Hall.
So did I.
You know who I saw at Radio City Music Hall in 1980? I saw 6 of the 7 nights, and we slept out for tickets. Saw the Grateful Dead at Radio City Music Hall.
Wow.
6 out of the 7 nights, man. And every night I was within the first couple rows. It was a very eye-opening experience.
What album were they touring in 1980?
It was a very eye-opening experience, tripping my face off to the Grateful Dead at Radio City Music Hall, and then going to school the next day, and then going back to Radio City and tripping my face off again. So,
was that Shakedown Street, 1980? Was that?
No. At that point, the Go to Heaven, they put out Go to Heaven and all that. So, there you said, yeah. All right, cool. Saruman.
It's Christopher Lee, you know.
Hey,
legend.
Did you see the prequel that they had? What is it? The Rings?
The Rings of Power. I don't have the channel.
Yo, don't bother. You know why?
You didn't like it?
It sucked.
Wow. Okay, because I didn't see that.
Sucked. If anybody out there with a straight face saw that and could tell me it didn't suck, it sucked.
Because that's not Peter Jackson though, right?
It sucked. What do you want me to tell you? All right. I saw Rush at Radio City also.
I did too.
You know who I saw at Radio City was great? I saw Leonard Skinner at Radio City. It was awesome.
Do you know the last time I was at Radio City for a band was David Gilmour, and he had
I saw Roger Waters at Radio City.
And he had David Crosby and Graham Nash singing background, actually.
Yeah. Did
you see Roger Waters with Clapton playing guitar, or with?
No, I saw the tour after that. There, the first.
Who was that? What is that? Donald Duck Dunn, I think he had. One of those guys.
No, I didn't see that.
So.
All right.
All right then.
I'll let you get back to work, man.
All right, you can switch Steves now.
Goodbye, Steve number one. I'll see you later. Well, there you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, Upstate Records, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. It's a streetwear for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them. Ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. That said, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. People are chomping at the bit. You know? Hey, Joe in Seattle. How are you, buddy? Listen, Chris Mendez, you asked for it, you got it, man. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. Today's guest is an American bassist hailing from Canarsie, Brooklyn. He's known for his work with the bands The Black Clap, El Shankar, One Too Many, Mark Truth and the Liars, and since 1977, the Hot Tuna tribute band America's Choice. In the early 1980s, he sat in and played bass for a run of shows with Hot Tuna's Jorma. Please welcome, coming at us from Raleigh, North Carolina, the birthday boy, Mr. Steve Austin. Hey, man.
Hello, Drew. Good afternoon.
How are you, buddy?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
You got some hardcore fans that are like causing a ruckus. They're like, Chris Mendez is ready to burn the place down, man.
You don't fuck with the Hot Tuna fans. They want it, like you said.
I know, right?
Now.
Yeah, fucking Hot Tuna fans in New York City. Hot Tuna fans have always been.
And back in the days, it was ruthless for any opening act, regardless who they were or how good they were. You got chopped.
I think in retrospect, as a young teenager, I think that's part of what drew me to Hot Tuna is that the fans were real rough. It was rough and tumble. It was a rough and tumble crowd, and at the time where I got into it, the music was really loud and really aggressive, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was the attraction, the volume, the power in the early 70s. It got you. Yeah.
So let's everybody, all your Canarsie represent, man. So once a Canarsie guy, always a Canarsie guy, right? It's like So how did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
Not really. Growing up in Canarsie, I had musical friends around me. My family wasn't really into music. I mean, we had boxes of 45s, and I used to play Beatles records as a kid. And one of my uncles, who had a very large record collection, an amazing stereo, I mean, he had walls of albums. He used to turn me on to different music all the time. And one of the first things I remember hearing was around 71 was he put on some ELP. And hearing from the beginning and Lucky Man, and then next thing he put some Hendrix on, and that was it. I was hooked. This was around 1970. So then I was basically grew up on Black Sabbath and Slade and Deep Purple, some of the noisy shit. But then in I had some older friends. I used to hang out in the park with all the old guys.
What park would that be in Canarsie?
279 Park. That's where the old Kingsmen used to hang out.
Right.
And it's completely different now. But 279 Park was the main hangout for everybody, and 211.
Sure.
And everybody was hanging out. And a lot of the older guys were into Tuna and a little bit of the old music. I was a little bit younger. Everybody was 2 or 3 years older than me. And around 72 or so, I got turned on to Hot Tuna by a friend, John Pastor, and I was hooked. And he brought me to see them in September of 1974 at the Academy of Music. And they were electric, and it left an impression on me. Jack's bass, the alembic bass through the stacks, and Jorma and tripping my brains out too, was just an experience that left a deep impression.
Now we're going to skip around a little bit, but I want to get this. I want to get my old. Here's a Academy of Music little ad from back then, and you just look at sort of, Fleetwood Mac, and Silverhead, which is our friend Michael DeBar, New York,
yes.
Black Oak, Arkansas. I mean, the Academy of Music, which was of course later the Palladium, was I never made it to the Academy of Music, but like you said, it was like a really dingy sort of.
It was the nastiest place you could imagine. The carpets were squishy. The seats were all fucked up. The bathrooms were disgusting. But the atmosphere and the sound of that place too. The sound in there was something about it. When you were in the back by the loge, it projected in such a way. And what a venue. It really was. I miss it. As nasty as it was. Mm-hmm. And the bathroom scene there, you go downstairs, it just. And as a 14-year-old kid walking into that situation with,
here it
boy,
is.
Oh boy,
I found what I was looking for. This one really, I think this is right in that era we're talking about. Here's a great Academy of Music shot. This is probably like 74, 73 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, what a place, and so many different bands have played there, and what a place. And it goes back. I don't know the original date, but I think it used to be an old vaudeville theater back maybe in the 40s and 30s, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But again, it was very nasty and squishy. What I remember most is it fucked you.
Chris Mendez says, "Don't forget the Quaaludes."
Well, again,
Quaaludes were the big thing back then, man. It's like. And it just so happens that the Palladium was on 14th Street. And if you went up 2 blocks to Union Square Park, you could get Quaaludes, Second Alls, and Two-and-Alls right there, right in Union's Tuies or Cannolis, right in the park there. And this I remember.
Rora, we're talking. We're not talking the lemon.
Not talk about that lemon bullshit. We're talking
Rora. I used to have a big patch on my jacket, actually, of Aurora 714 that someone gave me back then.
Here's now we talked about the Academy of Music, and of course later on it went through a name change, and it became the Palladium, which I guess you tell me, did they clean it up a little bit, or did they just change the name?
Sparkled. You walked in there, and it was literally walking into a palace. New carpeting, chandeliers. They fixed everything up. It was perfect. It was very nice. They had everything organized and set up. And again, all these bands continued playing there. Tuna played there all the time, usually, twice a year, usually in the spring and then in the fall. And it was just it's a holy place as far as I consider it,
Yeah, and of course Zappa played his legendary show.
Goodness,
Zappa played his legendary shows there, and and the Tuna shows. Did you go to Canarsie High School?
Yes, I went to Canarsie High School, but had to leave due to things going on in the 70s.
Yeah. Did you know the Cucarulo brothers?
Yes, they were friends of mine from Canarsie. Warren was a little bit older, and I used to see him play around. And he played the Battle of the Bands at Canarsie High School with the original name was his progressive band was called Motorhead. And he played with Hank Bergens on drums and Warren, Vinnie Mistretta, some of these other guys.
Yep.
But they were much more advanced. They were playing like this progressive rock advanced shit. where everyone's, playing regular rock and
Well,
blues.
it makes sense, right? That Warren Cucurullo basically followed Frank Zappa around
Yeah.
nonstop for until he ended up playing with Zappa. So for those that may not know who Warren Cucurullo is a Canarsie guy who made his way into Frank Zappa's band, and then of course he was in Duran Duran, Ordinary World, and all that. Oh, and he was in Missing Persons.
And Missing Persons, yes. The
And
new wave.
now I met and I have Canarsie friends. Of course, my friends in Biohazard are from
Yes.
Evan Seinfeld and Danny Schuler. But Jay Cucurullo is his younger brother, right?
Correct. That's who's more my age and who I grew up with, went to school with.
Right.
I actually dated Warren's sister Stephanie for a couple of days back at 242 around 1967, I believe. But I became friends with. She was really hot then. But Jay Cucurullo was my age, and we used to hang out. And we'd play together and go to East New York and buy the tray bags and stuff. And eventually, we ended up hooking up with violinist El Shankar through Jay Cucurullo. And what was originally a rock band somehow turned into a dance pop band and everything like that. And Jay eventually left, and Jay's done some stuff with some Zappa projects, Project Object, I believe, and a couple of other things. But and Frank Zappa came to Canarsie and was at Warren's house, and it was a whole big thing. My buddy John Keybon and all these guys were there, and it was like, Zappa's at Warren's house,
And Zappa has an instrumental called Canarsie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where everybody looks the same.
Yeah, right. So let's talk. Well, before we go the deep dive into Tuna and stuff, as a bass player, you pick up the bass. Who were your early bass influences because I know you played in the Black Clap and you played Mark Truth and the Liars. And you actually played, the A7, which was the home of New York hardcore. And A7 had a lot of different kinds of nights and bands. First of all, who were your early bass influences? And give us an A7 memory.
Now, growing up, the first one I remember is like Jack Bruce, him sticking out with Cream. That was one of my favorite things. Eric Clapton at that time period. Jack Bruce was very impressive. And listening to Jack Cassidy on the albums is one thing, but seeing him for that very first time and the sound and the way he played and just everything about it was something totally different. Jack is known for his sounds, his equipment, his specifications, and it just left such an impression. I said, this is what I got to do. I also know how to play guitar, and I've been playing guitar just as long as I played bass, as a matter of fact, as well.
Yeah.
But Jack Cassidy, after seeing him live, that was it. My other favorite bass player, I like Billy Sheehan. He's another one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many. Les Claypool's amazing and everything. Sure. All these different styles. It's just incredible.
Could you give us an A7 memory?
Okay, so with A7, this is right at the beginning of A7 because I was always in the city. We're always in Bleecker Street, playing at the clubs down over there and venturing over to the other side over there by the Bowery. Mm-hmm. And we met up with this guy, Mark Truth, who had no teeth, and he always used to wear, oh,
wow.
Here we go. Mark Truth. He had no front
teeth. A7. Wow, it's an A7 flyer too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I save all my shit.
You fucking do, don't you, man?
He had no teeth, and he used to sing like that. And I kind of call him like Michael Jackson because he used to do all these little pops and spins and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. But again, the scene was just starting out, and walking into that place for the very first time was almost frightening because coming from the rock scene and all of a sudden stepping into that hardcore world of the beginning of it.
This is the exterior of A7. It was like an after hours speakeasy. You get in through a side door. During the day, you had no idea that it was an illegal club is what it was.
It was literally shocking that very first time seeing the original guys, the Mohawk guys and the skinheads doing that the serious hardcore dance in a circle and just them.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit, what is going on here? What is it? It was something totally new to me that I couldn't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Then over time, people started getting into it. I believe it was around like 1980 or so I started going there till around about 84, 85. Those 4 or 5 years I was down over there. Then more and more people started getting into it, and then it became a free-for-all with everyone jumping around. I see the pictures of you bouncing off the walls there.
Yeah, here's one of me singing for the High and the Mighty. That's me on the right in 1983 or 83. There I am on the right. That was A7. It was the birthplace of New York hardcore.
And that's me in the corner over there, kicking everybody away from me that came near me.
So you were sort of straddling both these worlds. So let's do our deep dive into Hot Tuna and all that. So so obviously Hot Tuna really sprang out of Jefferson Airplane. And Jorma Kaukonen, and I'm gonna speak. I know there's a lot of regulars that watch the show that might not know exactly what we're talking about. So I'm gonna sort of make it a little educational as we go as well. So Hot Tuna is a group that came out of basically Jefferson Airplane. It was the guitar player and the bass player, Jorma Kaukonen on guitar, and Jack Cassidy on bass, and they sort of splintered off from Jefferson Airplane. But right, Steve, before then, even in the Airplane shows, they sort of always had a little bit of a spotlight, right?
Yes, they were always given time. There's back in the days, concerts ran for hours and hours. There's always so much time, and they would either fill in spots by themselves, join in with other people. Everybody was jamming back then too.
Yeah.
But Hot Tuna would usually fill in as their own band, either just Jack and Jorma, or sometimes their drummer would jam in with them. They play electric, right. And this is 1969 is what the beginning of Hot Tuna. That's supposedly the official date. Although they've been playing together since the late 50s, Jack and Jorma, right. As Hot Tuna, they're going over 50 years together.
Yeah, it's incredible.
This is unheard of.
And for those, I just saw them play recently, and they were friggin' great. And
Jorma is 82 years old.
Yeah. 82 years old. I saw Jorma on a motorcycle the other day.
Him and his wife, and even at the Fur Peace Ranch, they got their own little FPR gang of motorcycle guys. All my friends Ben and Sheila ride around with him, and he seems to have a good time.
So the first Hot Tuna that sort of came on a lot of the first album is really this acoustic based album, right?
Yes, this is Hot Tuna in the original form, just raw Jack playing his bass, Jorma on guitar, and they have an additional player, Will Scarlett, who wasn't really a member of the band. From what I understand, he kind of just talked his way in and played with them, and he was on the album. And this is the introduction to Hot Tuna. This is some serious shit for a finger-picking guitar player.
Sure.
I test any one of those FPR fucking guys, play to this album, because this is the test. If you could play to this at this tempo with this veracity.
and let me say for the uninitiated, Jorma Kaukonen plays a pretty rare style of ragtime blues guitar, of ragtime blues finger picking, and I think it's safe to say that he's basically a disciple of the Reverend Gary Davis, right?
Yes, he's a disciple of Reverend Gary Davis and even took lessons from him. Yeah. But growing up in the 60s, he was exposed to so many amazing players. Mike Bloomfield helped him with his lead playing. Ian, all these other guys, and Steve Mann. Being around all these great players helped give you that little push. And his style, what he's mainly known, I mean, with the Airplane, he's known for his psychedelic leads and everything.
Sure. Now let me just throw in for those out there. Keep in mind, we're talking about Jorma Kaukonen, who played lead guitar on White Rabbit, Somebody to Love. That's the wailing guitar you hear on all that Jefferson Airplane stuff is Jorma Kaukonen. And the bass, of course, is the amazing Jack Cassidy.
Yeah. So this is completely different from that. It's
This is like really, in a lot of ways, it's some back to the roots shit right here. Yeah.
This is the shit we would practice in the hotel room. This is the stuff we learned when we were kids. Stuff that's in your heart, stuff that's in your blood,
Yeah.
All these old 20s and 30s blues songs.
Sure.
Where everything comes from, no matter what band, everybody got a little piece from somewhere. It just keeps moving on.
Yeah, and for me, there's a direct lineage for me between this stuff and my new film that's out that's doing the festival circuit. I mean, there's a direct lineage there. This is because for me, at a certain point, getting acclimated to this kind of music, and I think it's like this for a lot of people. At first, when you're a young teenager, perhaps you hear music and you love music, and then you sort of peel back the layers and go, oh wow, whose song is this? Who originally? Oh wow, Muddy Waters. So you start, and it was the same for me. With Hot Tuna. Who does Hesitation? Who does Reverend Gary Davis and Jesse Fuller, and that really opened up a whole world of early American blues and Americana to me.
I give credit to some of these old guys that were out there just with an old acoustic guitar and sometimes sounding like two guitars with the alternate thumb picking.
Yeah,
that's the main thing that Jorma kind of plays what they call Piedmont style finger picking, which is actually a North Carolina thing. Reverend Gary Davis is that alternate thumb thing going on is what he does. Right. So there's
he plays with finger picks.
Metal finger picks, yes, a plastic thumb pick and metal finger picks.
Yeah, and then kind of soon after they kind of went electric with it a little bit, right? They borrowed. That's Papa John Creech on violin on the right.
The word in my head, yes, borrowed.
Yeah, that's Papa John Creech, and of course when they went like electric like this initially, they had Joey Covington playing drums from the Jefferson Airplane. But really, what they were doing was sort of like blues on steroids. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that would be the correct term. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Let me see what else. Yeah, and here's, just as we're talking about, Jack Cassidy anchoring it all down. Jack Cassidy's just an incredible bass player. You know what I wanted to touch on with you?
Mm-hmm.
It seems he was a guild guy, right? I mean, everything I see in those days, Jack Cassidy's playing these incredible like guilds, these hollow body. Always a guild guy?
In the beginning with the Airplane, he did start out with Fender basses that he modified, but then switched over to the guild. The one in this picture is the second one. There's actually one prior to this, which Alembic designed some of the electronics. There's some fancy carving in it, and it's the one that he played at Woodstock. Unfortunately, it was stolen, but he recently got it back a few years ago through the act of God somehow. Now, this second one here is he did use that with the Airplane, but mainly with Hot Tuna, and that's also designed by Alembic, did the electronics.
Here's
a little sloppy looking, but...
is this the same one?
Yes, that's the same one. You could see the cutouts, and it's not as fancy, but this bass really had some, preamp sounds in it and tonal qualities that for that time really.
Yeah, it looks like literally it was Frankensteined in, like
This one was done in a rush because the other one
Yeah.
was stolen. That one was modified really fancy. Osley did some work on it. Margareta Kalkinen did some inlay,
Sure.
and it got stolen.
Hey, Ben and Sheila. Ben says Ben and Sheila from Fur Piece Motorcycle Club are with you. Hey, Ben. Hey, Sheila. Thanks for stopping by, and we appreciate it. We're excited about today's show. So there you go. Let me keep moving and grooving here. Here, you mentioned Woodstock. Here's a cool shot. I believe this is from Woodstock. Just based on what Jack is wearing. I think this is a Woodstock shot of Jack and Jorma at Woodstock.
It's a shot of him from Woodstock, just chilling out backstage and zipping around on a little Honda 70 there. I think Jack is kind of saying it's my turn to ride the bike, if you ask me. But their clothes that they wore on stage was completely different. And some of the stuff that Jack wore is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
That actual bass, that Guild bass, the yellow one, is at one of the Hard Rock hotels hanging up. And Jorma has something at his Fur Piece Ranch, a silo that's turned into a psychedelic museum, and some of their clothing and stuff is in there, and some of the things from Woodstock.
Let me ask you this, being a knowledgeable kind of tech guy on this bass here. GXH asks, why so many knobs?
Well, again, these amps are modified by the guys at Alembic Guitars. Now, this is in the early days. They weren't making guitars yet. They were just doing some modifications to some people's guitars. Now, again, this one is called the Frankenstein kind of bass. If you were to see the original Guild bass that he has, you'd be completely in shock because the craftsmanship on that is completely different. But there's something about the tone. I mean, you may not care what it looks like, but it cranks out sounds. You can get distortions and sustains, or all different types of filters on it. If you've ever seen Alembic instruments, they're just loaded with 20 knobs.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, just to say, speaking of badass Guild basses.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, let me see. Go ahead, hold that up. Go ahead.
This here.
Oh yeah.
This is an actual Alembic bass. This is the very first Alembic bass that they produced. 001, made for Jack Cassidy.
Wow.
Heavy duty inlays, multiple effects, carving on it. You would not believe. And the sound of this bass, the Alembic bass, was just incredible. He sold it. Jack Cassidy sold it like in the 80s for whatever reason. But someone else owns it now. The famous musical guy, Rick Turner, who does all the electronics, who passed away recently.
Yeah.
He did all this fancy electronics and shit like that.
Yeah.
In the original days for Alembic. And if you've ever picked up an Alembic, you know what they're made of and how they're designed, and the craftsmanship and the light up dots, the whole deal. It's
just ask Phil Lesh.
Yeah, you see what he plays. Yeah, these are.
Speaking of badass Guild basses, a little bit down the line, as a young teenager, this blew my mind.
That is such a presence that sticks out. When you see somebody playing a fancy instrument like that, it's like, holy shit.
That's a Flying V Guild bass. Now, I always wondered, was this a stock instrument, or was this?
No. The only thing about Guild of this instrument is the neck.
Okay.
Someone else designed the body. I
Okay.
I think Leo Kwan or something like Glenn Kwan.
I always wondered about that, man.
It's a different shape than the Gibson V because they're a little more like this. I have one. This one's tapered a little more pointy, and it's sitting in his closet. But this was my favorite bass of his. Well, actually, the Alembic. This is the fucking bass. But that one, you remember that one?
I mean, GXS. you would think that would have been pretty fucking heavy, a big flight, right?
Yes, some of those alembics are quite heavy. I play a Lato bass, which tops in at 13 pounds.
Yeah. Where is that? Is that? Yeah, I know we're skipping around. Listen, we're going where the horse leads us with this show today. But this is a beautiful bass. This is your Lato bass, right?
This is a handmade Lato bass that I got in 1981 from my mother in Christmas. It was originally wired in stereo, so I could split the pickups and go into different amps. But I had it wired. It's mono now, and this is the instrument I've had the longest. I've had many instruments come through my hands, but this is the one I've had the longest. And this thing fucking roars, let me tell you. And
yeah,
Steve Harris has one. It's a Lato Falcon.
That's right. Steve Harris from Iron Maiden plays one, right?
His is blue with the Falcon painted on the front of it. Mine this is made of like 8 or 9 pieces of wood, actually.
Beautiful.
They joke and call it a plywood bass.
Right.
It's a poor man's alembic, as they say. But I got the Space Invader inlays, and I love it. It sounds great. It's my sound.
Beautiful. Moving along, keeping it moving. With that lineup, and I gotta say, man, doing my homework for this show, I had the opportunity to revisit all this stuff, and I gotta say, when I have to do a show, I'm listening to stuff really with a purpose. You know what I mean? It's not background music. I'm like really listening to it. And plus, I have these iPod earbuds now, which are really good. They noise cancellation. I revisited the whole fucking Hot Tuna catalog, and man, a couple of these records, I haven't really, heard in a couple of years. So this is kind of like the second Hot Tuna record, right? First pull up, then pull down, and this was the electric stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, they added Papa John Creech,
right?
From the Airplane. Somehow he fit in with a bunch of hippies, an old black fiddle player, and here he is with these toasters, as they say.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked, and they played together for a long time, and even Papa John continued with Starship for many years.
Sure. And the drummer on all this stuff was Sammy Piazza, right?
Yeah.
Who I think came out of like the Quicksilver camp, and right? Yeah. And he
Ground Quicksilver group. He was in that scene.
Yeah.
And he was. I enjoy his drum playing on the next couple of albums. There, he's really shines.
Well, arguably, the next album here is really a high point, a personal favorite of a lot of us, right? I mean,
this is almost a defining album in a way. It's a little mixture of some of the acoustic, and they're touching on a little electric here, and the production on the album is done well, and one of my favorites.
David Crosby just passed, and he sings on is it Highway Song?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
And you can listening to it, with the you can really hear, his voice. David Crosby had an interesting voice. It's sort of settled in like with other people, and he had an interesting voice,
And again, all these people hanging out at the studio, Wally Heider Studios in California back in the days. Everyone's together in different rooms, popping in. Jump on my album, I'll jump on yours. And
that's right.
Little spots here and there.
Yeah. Tommy Mack says regarding your bass, it does roar. And happy birthday, Steve. You rock, and nobody knows the Hot Tuna stuff like this. Your bass buddy, JB. Right on, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you, JB.
And Chris Mendez says, Annie says hi, Steve. She wants a shout out. So, we're shouting out Annie Mendez while we're at it.
Yes, they're friends of mine from New Jersey, and they moved down here just recently. And Chris has been seeing Hot Tuna for a long time and a big fan of the Jorma Kaukonen fan club back in the days, like in the early 80s.
Right on. Here's another one. Talking about Papa John Creech, there he is sitting behind Jack Cassidy. I'm not sure, which is this the Alembic?
That is the alembic, correct? Yeah, that's from the album 30 Seconds Over Winterland.
Yo,
and that's
I love
Jack's
that record.
alembic bass. Yeah.
Can I tell you I love that record?
That album, yeah, the 30 Seconds Over Winterland is.
I know it's not. It's a weird Jefferson Airplane record. It's like Marty Balin's not on it. Instead, it's David Freiberg, right? I think Joey Covington's playing drums. It's really the Airplane's last tour. It's their last gasp.
It's actually, I think that's their actual last performance, if I'm correct, was that
right at the Winterland. Tour. Right.
And yeah, John Barbada was the drummer on that album, who's from the Turtles or something.
That's
he's
right.
Been around and stuff like that. And that's a great live album. A great. Although Blessed's Pointed Little Head is the ultimate live Airplane album. That's a different category.
That's untouchable.
Yeah, that's something different.
3/5 of a mile in 10 seconds, right? It's that record, that Jefferson Airplane record, Blessed's Pointed Little Head, is to me is just untouchable. It's like Mount Rushmore. It is. You want to talk about 60s San Francisco, real deal psychedelic. The real deal, not the fucking pasteurized, processed fucking LA bullshit. That's the real deal right there.
No, they were a powerhouse, able to mellow out, bring it up, jamming and everything. I mean, you can't ask for anything more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, Terrence mentions Blows Against the Empire, and you mentioned Wally Heider's studio. All this stuff was all recorded at Wally Heider's, and all these musicians were kind of coming. When you talk about David Crosby, his record, if I can only remember my name, was recorded at the same time as Grateful Dead American Beauty. So American Beauty. So there was a lot of cross-pollination, and at the same time,
as well as Blows Against the Empire. They seem to have interchangeable parts. All those people from I Can Only Remember My Name are all on
Blows Against the Empire
album as well.
That's right.
Old friends, all jamming. What a time to be in. You can only imagine what it must have been like there.
Yeah. What else do I got? Well, here's a favorite. Did I not download Phosphorescent Rat? That was such a good one, man.
That's that one's terrific. That one.
Yeah. I have it here somewhere. Hold on. You know what? I want to download it because I love the album artwork. So let me.
Yeah, very strange. Yeah, for the time.
Let me download it real quick so we can look at it.
That one has a good mixture of acoustic songs and electric, and
that's kind of a sleeper. Like in my world, like that record wasn't the blockbuster that some of the others were, but going back and listening to it now, it has a couple of bangers on it.
A lot of hidden gems that Jorma has been playing recently, breaking out the old songs. These are songs that Hot Tuna did not play for a long time. But when Jorma was doing the quarantine concerts,
there you go.
He started busting out all the weird songs from the Rad album and the other albums that he hasn't played in 20, 30 years. And so we were treated during the quarantine concerts.
Yo, you know what song fucking rips on this record is Easy Now.
Yes.
That fucking song rips, man.
And live out of the stacks of amps, that song was like.
Yeah. So Paulie's asking, hey Drew, when was the first time you saw Hot Tuna? We are getting to that. Because we're in the mid 70s here. So I'm not entering the picture yet. I'm not entering the picture yet. But I revisited this. I think last night, this morning, and between I See the Light. In Easy Now, and then it has like there's this weird balance with like Sally, where'd you get your liquor from, and other sort of finger picking stuff. So
I play out all the time. I play guitar and I play a few songs from that album, Living Just for You, Corners Without
great.
Exits. I play these a lot during my sets when I'm not playing guitar.
Yeah. So, next up, I got to say, fucking game changer, man. Game changer right here. Like this man, I can almost say this record changed my life, It's like this is just a game changer, man. Could you give us some perspective on this record?
Well, again, here we are going from the Phosphorescent Rat album, which is touching on some electric, but now this is totally different. They have a new lineup. They have Bob Steeler on drums. Jorma and Jack have short hair. Everything's changed, a new start, a new beginning. And they came out as a powerhouse. They were on Don Kirshner's rock concert in this format when this album first came out. And just incredible playing. Jorma right at his peak, Jack and Bob Steeler on drums. So this does have some acoustic sounding songs. There are a couple little mellow backtracks, but a lot of it is a little more, hit single number one and funky, walking blues. These are and live, these songs were just in your face and pound you.
I want to say that anybody out there, any of my friends out there, my hard rock friends, my hardcore friends that are like, what is this stuff? If you're going to listen to anything, I recommend this record. Just give it a listen on Spotify. This heavy and hard music right here, this turned me on, because before this, I was into some a little bit different stuff. This rang my bell, this record.
And what does the warning label on the side say?
This album is to be played at full volume for maximum effect.
Of course.
And something I was thinking about this before also, in the great tradition of power trios, right? Jimi Hendrix Experience, Cream, boom. This was a fucking power trio right here.
That's what it became. In 75, right when this album came out, they added another guitarist, Greg Douglas.
That's right.
So the first shows I remember seeing were at the Academy of Music in like March or something like that of 75. And it was amazing. There were lights on all the levels, places packed, and it was like America's Choice came to life with this guitarist, Greg Douglas.
Is that right?
And this is my favorite incarnation of Hot Tuna.
Is that right? With Greg Douglas?
Yes. Because he could finger pick. He's a really nice guy. I've spoken with him and stuff like that. He finger picks amazing, but he's a great player. He's played with Steve Miller and stuff.
And he plays a little bit on that record, and he did the tour, and that was it.
He's on the follow-up. He's on the Yellow Fever album. He's on that. But you know what was happening was it became like a guitar battle. I mean, Jorma's the star. You can't step on him. And Greg Douglas, he's a slide player, but he's there standing up battling against Jorma. Sure. And I'm talking, there's 30-minute jams, 40-minute jams, which are unheard of with the average band, and fucking loud. Yeah. I mean, Jack had, 10 JBL 15s on each side, and Jorma's going on to stacks of orange amps and high watts. You get fucking diarrhea from how loud it was. It was and this is when you saw them for the first time, right? I saw them in 74 for the first time when they first came with Bob Steeler. But that's when I saw them afterwards in 75, it was totally different. It was But then the big show was Central Park, where they played jam-packed show, blistering loud, to say the least. And then they got rid of Greg Douglas. Yeah. And so the end of 75, I feel, was Hot Tuna at their fucking peak, what they call the rampage. The volume, the power, the energy was like nothing else. And if you weren't there and you didn't see it, it's you can't, the power of the music.
Well, that's the introduction to this. This record, what can I can't even put it into words. You know, I had this on an 8-track, right? When I was a young teenager. So
Yeah.
when you're a teenager, I'm talking, how old was I when this came out? 13, 14, whatever, 15, whatever. I had this on an 8-track. And as teenagers would do, right? You would put it in, you'd put it in the, in the 8-track, it would be playing. And of course, 8-track keeps looping. And like, I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up in the morning and the thing is still playing. So this thing is like imprinted. This is imprinted onto my DNA, you know, and
yeah, the sounds on this album, the recording and the effects used on this and the mixing, this one's very different. It's a big step.
Yo, and Barroom Crystal Ball is that song is it really it touches me. It really fucks me up. That song fucks me up.
It gives you goosebumps. Back in the days, they would play that live. The sound of that, and actually, I've been playing that recently. I played it a couple of weeks ago for the first time. I was out playing, and I busted that one out. Even my wife was like, "Holy shit, that's a good one." She goes, "You got to bring that one out."
Absolutely.
But live, they do it now live, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, they do it. They do. Hot Tuna does it now acoustic.
Teresa Williams sings with them.
Yeah, it's such a
life to it.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's such a not melancholy, but it just touches my heart, that song, you know.
And what it's about, also the meaning of the song as well.
Yeah.
But back in the days, they would start that song out, and Jack would just hit that low note there.
Yeah.
And fucking screws would come out of the metal.
Hey, you know, I want to ask you. This, I'm looking at my notes here. A lot of guitar effects, a lot of stuff like this, and you know, one thing I sort of associate with Jorma and his guitar playing is that a flanger, a chorus, and a what is that?
Well, back in the days, Jorma mainly is known for using the wah-wah and a little bit of distortion with the airplane and stuff like that. But with gradually more with Hot Tuna, started adding a little bit of array of effects. Now, the one that makes the crazy swishing sound is the rolling jet phaser. That sounds like a fucking 747 is in the building. Yeah. You set it the right way, and it just sweeps.
Yeah.
And then he has the Oberheim voltage control thing, which has like that wah-wah sound to the playing, sort of like Frank Zappa, Garcia thing there.
Yep.
Distortion, wah, phaser. But that rolling jet phaser was the thing that took your fucking head off. That the sweep.
Yeah.
Well, and he fucking abused it, let me tell you. Oh my.
Yeah. Here's a shot from that era. Here. There you go. Look what he's playing through there, man. Are those Ampeg? No, those Ampeg heads. Well, those are Jack's heads. Those are Jack's heads, right?
Yeah, you're looking more at Jack's side a little bit. You have Jack's playing out of the SVT heads, but what he's mainly known for is playing out of that little Versatone amp. That's Jack Cassidy. He's played with those amps since the airplane. That's what he uses as his pre-sound since the beginning. That's Jack Cassidy, right? The Versatone bass amp is Jack Cassidy's sound.
Wow.
And he'll have that in the front. Now, Jorma, he's mainly used, I've seen him use stacks of Orange amps, some Marshalls, but then for a while he was using high watts.
Yeah.
And
high watts. I remember Pete Townsend used to use high watts, right?
Yes, they're a little cleaner. They run hot. One of my buddies, Vladimir, actually scored one of Jorma's old high watt heads from him, which is modified with some fans and some other shit. Crackhead special back in the 80s. now Vlad
plays in a what's the name?
Vladimir, my friend, plays with. He's from He used to be from Queens, and I was playing with him since around 1980. I know Vladimir, and he plays with a band called Spiral Eye.
Right.
And he's been continuing the Hot Tuna stuff. I'm down in North Carolina at the moment, and I've had some injuries, So he plays with a friend of mine, Jeff Brody, and they use Bob Steeler on drums, my old drummer, and obviously Hot Tuna's old drummer.
Yeah.
And so Vlad's been busy, and again, America's Choice, because of the distance, New Jersey, North Carolina are a little on hiatus at the moment.
Sure. Our good friend and supporter who's playing the Bowery Electric this Sunday in the band Kings Never Die, Larry Nemrota, says, I have one of those guitars, a Gibson L5S.
That's it. Yeah, they're up there in price. If you look for one, they can range anywhere from like $5 to $10,000 on the market.
What's the plate that the base the plate beyond the bridge? That's not a bar. What is that? Just a plate?
It's just like a tailpiece on the end.
Tailpiece. Excuse me.
It doesn't really do it. It just holds the strings. It's more of a pain in the ass of anything. Some people remove them and just put the strings on the bridge.
Sure.
But the older models have them. It's kind of like a squashed Les Paul is what I call it. It's like a tapered Les Paul, actually.
Got it.
Very nice guitars. I've played it many times back in the days, holding it and playing it. And he ended up selling it he got arrested somewhere in Europe and needed some money and had to give up his guitar for some cash. So it's floating around fucking Germany somewhere or Scandinavia.
Well, here it is again. I think this is the same guitar, right? Boom.
Yes. That's the L5. Yes.
Yeah. Now another guitar. Now I had the picture. I think I already put it up. Gotta find it. Wait. Oh, here it is. Here it is. And I know this came in. Here's an iconic Jorma Kaukonen guitar right here.
That is one of my favorite guitars of him to see him play. Usually use it for the tunings and stuff like that. And God knows where that guitar is at the moment. His ex-wife sold a number of his guitars back in the early 80s. So Lord knows where that one is. But one of my friends made an identical copy. So I'm in his will.
Let me ask. Is that a stock Gibson Strat with the red, white, blue body?
This is a Fender Strat.
Excuse me, Fender Strat. I'm sorry.
Just custom painted, but the neck has been changed a number of times. As I found out back in the days with Jorma, he was pretty bad at breaking guitars. I mean, a couple of his Firebirds have been damaged multiple times. I don't know what the deal is. But he's changed the neck on this guitar a number of times. And like I said, one of my buddies created a copy of it, so I'm waiting for him to die so I get it.
Tommy Max mentions Police Dog. Is
correct? Yeah, that would be an open E tuning song that he would usually use that guitar for.
Thank you.
One of the old tricky ones there.
Yeah, you know, I notice. You know what I noticed, that these days he doesn't play Police Dog or Killing Time in the Crystal City that much anymore. He used to play, because it's a different tuning, and he'd play slide in those songs.
It is a little, the open E tuning is a little tricky, and Police Dog Blues happens to be a very hard song to play. And especially when your hands aren't moving as quick as they did, 40 years ago.
Sure.
That's a hard song. That really is.
That open E tuning.
Yeah.
Is that Dwayne Allman played? Was that an E or an A tuning?
Well, again, he did a lot of tuning, playing in standard tuning. Dwayne.
Standard E.
The open E tuning is where you're raising your strings to play so it rings like an E chord.
Right.
Like if you play to open G, it's an open G, or if you tune to open A, it's an open A chord. But in open E, you're really raising the tension on the guitar.
Right.
And now it's a little tricky, and that is a hard song to play. There are some little ditties in that, especially in the original. That's a hard one.
Those two songs, Police Dog Blues and Killing Time in the Crystal City.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to this, but man, those acoustic shows when you played with Jorma in the early 80s, that he used to play that stuff every show, and he was fucking great, man. Yeah, that stuff was great.
Yeah,
Killing Time in the Crystal. Killing Time in the Crystal City. Come on now.
That's a good one. Yeah. Hot Jelly Roll Blues.
Yeah.
Open tune.
Larry says Firebirds are prone to damage, extremely fragile. He says. Makes sense.
Well, again, I have a Thunderbird bass, and the neck is out here. And some of my friends are Firebird players. They are really nice guitars, but again, you have a 4-foot neck sticking out on it, so it's
sure,
it happens.
Sure. Another great Firebird player was Johnny Winter, who we both love, right? I mean, when I think of Firebirds, is that right? Was it a Firebird that Johnny Winter used to play?
That was Johnny Winter's main guitar back in the days. He did play some Fenders originally, but he wasn't. I remember Johnny playing a Firebird. Then he switched to that little shorty guitar.
That laser. That thing was.
I opened for Johnny once at the Bottom Line with my band One Too Many. But this was around like 92 or something. He wasn't in good shape at the time. But when he put the slide on, somebody came over and put the Firebird on him. And when he put the slide on, he was Johnny Winter. But when he was doing the other shit, it was a little slide. I was involved with his manager, Ted Slatus, and he was helping the One Too Many band. But he revived.
Yeah. Winter's Firebird was broken and repaired many times. I wouldn't doubt that. I saw Johnny Winter a couple times. I saw Johnny Winter in 1979. His shows were rowdy.
Oh yeah, right? Rowdy crowd. What made me laugh the other day?
Johnny Winter shows were rowdy.
I posted a picture because I have thousands of cassette tapes and CDs. So I posted the picture of my cassettes, and you pointed out the Johnny Winter 73 New Haven.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah, Johnny back then.
Johnny Winter was great. We had John Paris on bass and Bobby T. They were fucking great.
Now, John Paris used to hang out on Greenwich in Greenwich Village up on Bleecker Street all the time. I used to play in a Jimi Hendrix tribute band at the Rock and Roll Cafe and at Terra Blues all the time. Yeah. And Paris was always in and out, and he'd come in and usually jam on harmonica with people. Yeah. Nice guy.
Let's talk a little bit about. So this is really the last Hot Tuna studio album of that era, and this sort of caps off what we know as the Rampage years, right?
Yes, correct.
This is the last studio record that they did before they took a hiatus. This one was a little bit of. This one didn't really resonate that much for me. There was great stuff on it. I listened to it today. I loved it. Your thoughts?
It's again, there are a bunch of old time songs that they've redone. Come Back Baby, I Wish You Would, and stuff like that. These are old Buddy Arnold songs. If you heard the original and you hear what they're doing and stuff like that, and it's a lot of effects, a lot of studio processing. It's different. It's another step in a direction they were going. But again, a lot of effects. You almost use, whatever they did in the studio there, they really overdid it quite a bit. But it makes for that sound. It has that album has a certain sound to it.
They had an outside producer, right? It was an outside producer. And listen, there's songs on there that came sort of heavy staples for them. I Wish You Would, right? Talking About You. There's a Santa Claus Retreat, like kind of crunches. But it was. I guess it just didn't grab me like some of the other like the previous ones. And that sort of leads into this next one. And I gotta say, I know. Todd, you got it right. Hopcorp was kind of slick after the previous two, and It's So Easy kind of threw me off. There you go. The song from so that kind of segues for me into a record that I could say with a straight face changed my life. This record changed my life. As a young teenager, when this record came out, it opened up the whole world of pretty much not just heavy and hard music, because side one is acoustic. And then the next three are and listen, you want to call this live? A lot of this, I think it's a bit of a stretch. This is one of those great 70s records that they call it live, but there's a lot of not live stuff happening here.
There's a bit of overdubbing on this, and I believe Felix Pappalardi was involved with
From
this
Mountain. Yeah, he
project.
produced it. That's right.
And to be honest, this is not the acoustic side. Crisp as can be. Jorma plays great. The electric, they play well. Nicky Buck wasn't my favorite at this time. They're sort of heading towards the end here, and the Nicky Buck thing. He had a couple of nice things, but they were heading towards the end of the line here.
Yeah.
This truly doesn't represent what they sounded like live. Because even before this, there was some radio broadcasts from WNEW.
Is that 1976 show?
Yes, there's two actually. Which
that show's fucking bananas.
The recording of it, the sound of it, they're playing. I was outside in the recording trucks with the guys talking, and I believe, again, most Hot Tuna fans here would probably agree that those should have been the album they released as a live album at this point. Again,
well, that was the tour before this. Nick Buck wasn't playing on that tour. They were a 3-piece for that 76 tour.
Yeah. Nick Buck added a little bit, something different. A couple of songs he added were really good, but for the most part, it wasn't my favorite.
Right.
But the best thing about the album is the center picture, which
we showed before,
is the one taken by Barry Berenson, who's been photographing Hot Tuna since the 70s. And that's an iconic shot, Jack with the bass with his foot on the big Morley pedal, and Jorma with his gold tooth shining, Yeah,
let me dig that out again real quick.
It is a good album, but again, as somebody who has a million live tapes and recordings, that's not what you would expect.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get that shot. That epic shot that hung on my wall as a young teenager for years and years and years. This was because Double Dose was a double album, so you could open it up, and this was on my wall, through my whole fucking teenage fucking life, man.
I think everybody's had that one hanging on their wall. It's just such a classic shot. Now, I actually obtained the full video from the Capitol Theater of that show. I had to go through Historic Films and fucking beg them to get a copy of that full show.
Isn't a lot of that stuff on YouTube now? Maybe it's not that show.
There is some released on you. The black and white footage is stuff that I've handed out and people posted up over there. But I have the full show.
It's interesting. You came into it a couple of years before me, but as a young teenager, this was my entry point right here. This was my entry point. Oh, there was acoustic stuff, which had me kind of delving deep, kind of, what studio record was this on? And then the live stuff to me was just so heavy.
It's still a great album. It's still a great album. But I do have.
But I think what's interesting is two kind of different points of view, right?
Yeah.
And I loved, and I listened to it today. I love the Nick Buck stuff on here. I love the texture and the electric piano and the synthesizer stuff he did. Really interesting. And if you look back, this is deep diving here on the very last shows. On the very last shows that they did, before, I think literally that the last couple of shows leading up to the last show, November 26, 1977, they had two songs in the set, one called Snow Gorilla and one called Bright Eyes. And that kind of gives, if you're a real Hot Tuna pervert, like me or like you, like if you want to go back and see what could have been or where all this was heading, those two songs.
Those two in particular were Nick's songs that highlighted the show.
Yeah.
I've actually done a couple of copy versions I've posted of both of those songs playing that. And it's not something they would ever play again.
Nah,
They are super rare, and to hear them, I mean, his soloing, Jorma's solos on some of those songs are just out there. I mean, really psychedelic power playing.
Yeah.
And again, those songs highlighted that fucking jet phaser that took your head
that's
off.
right.
That was
unbelievable. Like,
your haircut.
Yeah. And when I hear stuff like that, because I came in, right a little bit after that. So I would always think back like, oh God, those legendary Palladium shows that went on all night long. And like, what time is it? 3:30 in the morning. And they're doing like, 30-minute invitation.
The closing Academy show was November of '75. And they did 2 nights, 4 shows. Of course, I'm there. I had backstage passes for the last night that Bob Steeler gave me. I was there from like 7 o'clock till, I swear, we left at 6 a.m. that night. I think they played till it was about 4:30 or 5, the closing of the Academy. And going outside and getting on the L train, fucking tripping your brains out with all the graffiti and people coming to work. What an experience.
Yeah. Let me take a break. Let me take a sponsor break. It's been a while, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes, okay?
Got it.
I'll see you in a bit.
Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey guys, Vlad from Organic Grill. As you can see, we're in new location on West 3rd Street, right by Blue Note and Comedy Central. The place is bigger, kitchen is bigger, we have more varieties, more food. We are looking forward to treat you guys with great dishes. All Hardcore Chronicles, welcome to Organic Grill. We are going to serve all the events as we usually do, and we are happy to see you guys.
Peace, what it do? Welcome to NYHC Comics at 117 Main Street, Dobbs, Surrey, New York. I'm Debo the Pro with my homie
Lee Farley.
Welcome to the spot. Specializing in yesterday's and today's comic books, rare CGCs, toys, collectibles.
Got skateboards, old school tapes, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer.
Video games, original art pieces by your favorite New York City and worldwide artists. Let's go. Skate decks all day, baby.
We also have the young reader section here for like 10 and under. Pops. People love the Pops.
Star Wars! We are New York hardcore. We always rep the scene. Let's get it on.
And we're back. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and Upstate Records, and the Texas Silver Rush. They're a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rowley, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. I want to talk to you about a couple of upcoming shows. That is correct, my friend. A week from today, there is no show on Sunday because this is going on Sunday. There is a free all-ages Bowery Electric Back to the New York Hardcore Roots Show with Shutdown, Kings Never Die, Incendiary Device. It's going to jump off tonight. End of Hope and India Vid. Come on down. Bring those booger-eating kids. Bring that nagging wife. All are welcome. While we're at it, the month of March brings us Two-Man Advantage, Enziguri, Fuck It, I Quit, Non-Residents and Iconicide at Barry Electric. And then this just got announced. Sunday, April 2nd, Channel 3 is coming to town from California, celebrating the release of Channel 3 40th anniversary set, Incendiary Device. It is going to jump off April 2nd. War Orphan with X Sick of It All, Richie Sip, Slashes, and Regicide are on the bill. And then, last but not least here, Go, Crazy Eddie, Download, Crippled Derm, and Chumhuffer on Sunday, April 30th. Oh, and we announced the park show that we're doing in Tompkins Square Park, in our beloved Tompkins Square Park. It's free. If it's free, it's for me. Saturday, May 27th. That is Memorial Day weekend. Leeway, Rebelmatic, Butterbrain, Winterwolf, and Scott Helen, Guitar Me of One. Meanwhile, a week from today, Andy Guida will be on the show. Altercation, Supertouch, Absolution, Stillborn, and 6-3 Studio. A couple days later, Vinny Vitale of Marauder. Sunday, February 26th, Dave Dichter from MDC. Wednesday, March 1st, Skeeter from Scream. Danny Garcia, filmmaker, March 8th. Louis Vito from Carnivore. Show 249, Sunday, March 12th. Here we go, the big landmark 250th episode with Lars from Rancid, Old Firm Casuals, and Oxy's Midnight Runners. And then Sunday, March 26th, Hail Satan, Tony Abaddon Bray from Venom and Venom Inc. will be on the show for all you Satan worshipers out there. Yes, 2 different flyers. This is a big one. We are excited about that. And then Wednesday, March 29th, the Slicky Boys from DC. Another thing that we are excited about in these parts is the Women of the Pit compilation is coming out. And let's bring our friend Lori Dawn on. Hey.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good.
Wow.
I'm good. I'm getting a chance to talk about some stuff I don't usually get to talk about, you know?
Yeah. So we're super excited about this comp, and it seems like a lot of other people are too. So
yeah. I like the cover. Things are moving forward, right? Are we talking about how many bands we have for this and all that?
So we definitely have 16 bands on board. So 16, sweet 16.
Yeah. From all over the world.
From all over the world. So some of them, the New York hardcore crowd will recognize, and some of them will be different. So yeah.
Are we gonna start like leaking one at a time bands that are on this thing?
I would love to. Yeah. So
all right. We'll get that going at some point.
Yeah. So,
and what format is it coming out?
So this is going to be coming out on CD.
Okay.
So, I designed the cover. Gina's working on the layout for it right now as we speak. We've got the songs in. We're setting those off to be adjusted, the volume and stuff on them. And we're hoping to have a release date by March 24th. So, we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got to do a show.
We do have to do a show. We have to do a little party. We'll
do a release show with some of these bands.
Yeah, but we'll be ready to announce the band soon and get a pre-order up and get this thing rolling.
Yeah. A lot of work going into this thing. So there you have it.
It's been a big learning curve for us too, because I've never done anything like this before. So I'm really grateful to Kim and Mario kind of guiding us along, and you as well. So
and Upstate, of course, Kim and Mario from Upstate Records, they have a big hand in making this happen,
Yeah, you just have to be really organized, really persistent. It's kind of like herding cats, getting people to send in their songs after they enthusiastically say, yes. It's like, okay, where's the song?
Absolutely. All right.
Lisa.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I will talk to you soon.
Okay, all right. Great show so far. I'm enjoying it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. That's right. Lori Dawn, Women of the Pit. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. Listen, if you're wondering how to support the show, it's very easy. There is a Patreon page. Please support the show. What can I tell you? Support the show that supports you. I want to shout out a couple of our new patrons, Stefan Sonic, Jeff Steiner, Brendan Murray. Thank you so much for supporting this show and enabling me to do something that I love doing. Couple of other things. If you're down in Florida, you know what? I forgot about this. I am coming down to Florida tomorrow. Here we go. I'm screening my new film. It is the closing film of the Palm Beach Jewish Film Festival. It's a big chazarai. It's a big shebang. If you're down in that area, Palm Beach Jewish, I will be down there. I'll be doing a Q&A after the screening. And this should be a lot of fun. That's happening Saturday night. Also, if you're watching the film in rerun, there is a subscribe button there. Please subscribe. There's also another way to support the show. There is a super chat function. You could do a super chat. It's a couple of bucks. We're going to do questions to the end of the show for our guest, any kind of hot tuna stuff, whatever, him personally, whatever. If you want to do a super chat for a couple bucks, it comes through in color. I can't miss it. So please support the show. That said, let's bring our guest back on. The birthday boy, Mr. Steve Austin. Hey, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So where were we, my man? My good man? Hot tuna kind of winds down and takes a breather in 78. And do you remember that happening? Like, what were the thoughts in the street, man?
It was a sad moment, needless to say, because your tickets were printed saying Hot Tuna was going to play, but then it was just all Jorma, which was better than nothing.
You talk about this is the show at the Palladium. The tickets were printed.
Yes, correct.
And,
yes,
and is that the show that Jorma played with just him and Bob Steeler, no bass player?
Yes. It was just Jorma came out and just played, and then the Happy-Go-Lucky Space Rats, what it was called. Amazing acoustic performance. Everybody was bummed out that Hot Tuna was on this hiatus, but it was kind of going in that direction around 77. You knew it wasn't gonna last that much longer. Something was gonna happen. Everybody felt it, and there was some talk. So here's Jorma playing with Bob Steeler solo. Amazing acoustic set. Not too many people really dug the Space Rat stuff, so it only went so far.
Yeah, but, and then that this is where I entered the picture. Like I came in the first time I saw Jorma play. This is my stub, actually, was in 1979 at this Par Meadows. It was like billed as like a Woodstock reunion show, and it was like, it was Johnny Winter and I think Stephen Stills did a set, and Mountain and Canned Heat, and then in the end they had like this jam with all of them. But it was my first time seeing Jorma, and it was him and Bob Steeler and I think Denny DeGorio playing bass at that point, and it was just it was hard to understand what was going on for me at the time.
It was Jorma trying to fit in at that time. Again, he has like the poster with the pink hair and the tattoo. He now has a new attitude and a whole new thing that he's trying to do, pushing himself now, trying to reinvent himself. That was an interesting show.
It was a crazy show. That was a fucking crazy show. I was there.
Everybody a little lit, but it was a fun show overall, more or less.
Were you there?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. That was when like the biker gang was on the kind of stormed the stage and they almost stopped the show. It was a
You
crazy.
got those Mongols or something, I believe.
Pagans.
Pagans or Mongols from out in the
Yeah.
island there or something. Those guys,
Yeah.
causing some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a weird time. Playing with Denny Gregorio was he plays really good on the album Vital Parts. But there was one or two other bass. I think there was a guy from Germany, Alex Mitchell, that played.
That was after Denigor. That's after he left. Alex Mitchell, and then the other guy that we talked about the other day.
Mike Visiglia. Played with them. But Denny was actually a good player. He played with Bob Steeler in a band called the Offs.
That's right.
So here they are playing. I believe the original name for the band was Hidden Clits. That was one of the bands in there somewhere along the way. But then he latched on to Denny. Now, on the album, he plays very well. On the Barbecue King album, he plays good. But live, the only way I could describe it is my friend brings me to one of the shows somewhere upstate, first show of the tour. They just came back from California. He goes, "You got to see this shit." He goes, "You're not going to fucking believe it." He goes, it's a fucking circus. So here I'm tripping, everything like that. Jorma's fucking hair is pink and everything like that. And he comes out with this guy fucking so high and so drugged up that he can't even play, and he's dropping the bass. People are throwing shit at him. And I'm like, is this fucking happening? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was weird.
It was frightening. I mean, Jorma was into it. Everybody's partying, doing their thing, like, whatever you're doing at the time to influence this type of music. It was a moment in time, but I find it almost embarrassing for Denny. I've said a few bad words about him over the years, like on the Hot Tuna page, because seeing somebody drop their instrument and being so fucked up and taking a handful of lewds before you go out and play is unthinkable. And then here I am seeing him play with Jorma, and I said, damn, I could be fucking standing there. And, this is horrendous, Yeah. But I don't think he likes me either. So,
Well, the first time I saw them after that at the Palladium, probably a couple months after, maybe in '80 or whatever. And it was a massacre, man. It was everybody, like the acoustic set was great.
Spectacular, as a matter of fact.
The acoustic set was great. But then he came out and people were just throwing shit and booing and pissed off and
he would come backstage with fucking pockets full of lighters, handfuls of change all the time. Yeah. It was funny, but not funny.
It was a bit of a mess, man. And I was, like I said, I was just, kind of getting into it.
People
and
running out of that place. I remember just looking at the aisles and people just like.
I saw the Late Show at one of those Palladium shows. I'm talking. This picture that I just showed is interesting because the drummer's not Bob Steeler. I think it was Danny from the Avengers. I think if anybody knows, yeah. So all my hardcore and punk friends, Danny Havoc, I think from the Avengers, played drums for a couple shows.
So this is at the time. This is like 1980. I'm hanging out with my buddy Richie Carmelo, all the guys from East New York and everything. Yeah. And I was hanging out with him because he was Jorma's drummer for a short time, and these guys all want to go downtown for a number of reasons. And I remember driving around with him and stuff like that. He was just short-lived. He was there. I think he's part of the Hidden Clits band, or I don't know where he fit in. He was there for a short time.
Yeah,
nice guy. I remember talking with him. He seemed really cool.
Well, I remember the show that I saw at the Palladium. He was playing drums. It must have been 80 or 80, probably 80. And we were there for the night. It's a whole long story that I don't need to get into, but I wasn't going anywhere. So I remember sitting, towards the end of the show, the place was like, empty. Everyone walked out. Everybody walked out.
That was tough. Now, the only good thing I could say about that show, I was with this super hot chick, Fabiana, And I ended up going up on the roof of the Palladium back in the days, right on the dome above the stage, laid down my jacket, and Denny's bass vibrated the dome above the stage.
Oh, the good old days of going to a concert in New York City, you know?
Yeah, without the alarms going off. Oh my God.
So let's talk a little bit about, because soon after that, I go see Jorma play, and you're playing with him. Tell us a little bit about how this came to be.
Now, I've been playing with the America's Choice Band since around 76, 77. And a bunch of the people that were friends with Jorma, a lot of the guys from East New York, Harvey, Bird, Jorma's old manager, Ira Wilkes, all these guys used to come to the studio and hang out with us and listen to us. They all dug it and love it. And I'm at the shows all the time. But then, right in 77, Jorma's road manager, Ronnie Dragon, gets a little whiff of us. He's bringing us to the studio and paying for time in showcase rooms, listening to America's Choice fucking jam out, a little heavier than what, well, I don't want to go too far, but we were, here we are at a peak fucking fighting playing, whereas Tuna was petering out. And he used to come all the time and pay for studio time, and all these people would just jam in the studio, outside the studio, thinking Jorma's, coming. So I was always around, always talking to Jorma about playing, joking, blah, blah, blah. So I'm in, I think it was Philadelphia, either at the Bijou Theater or the Paradise Theater. And he just played with Joe Stefko, guy who looks like Ron Wood a little bit.
Yeah.
And Mike Visiglia.
Yeah, right.
Right? So I see them, and they put on a fucking killer show. And I was literally in tears. I was like, oh, no, I don't stand a chance now. They were fucking just great. but I'm backstage, and Jorma is fucking pissed. He's not happy because I'm hearing me. I'm sick of this shit. I don't want to play that, blah, blah, blah. So that was the signal to finally grab him by the fucking arm and in front of everybody, pull him into another room and say, listen, I want to play with you. How can we do this? So he invited me to his hotel room at the Gramercy Park Hotel with his wife,
Margarita
at the time. I had a broken hand. I had a cast on from my fingertip to my elbow. I brought my bass, an amp, and unfortunately, Jorma's Ovation was locked in the truck, so I had to bring one of my buddies' guitar. So here I am, broken hand, all tons of shit. We go to the hotel room. I had the best fucking time sitting with Jorma, his wife, just me sitting there. There was a girl, Jody Wilkes, who was the only one allowed to come. And we had the best time. I even have an audio recording of it. So then I said, listen, can I come and play with you? And he was like, sure. So he said, come to the Lone Star. And so we did 2 nights at the Lone Star. And
now, this is you playing with him at the Lone Star.
Yes. This is a photograph by a friend of mine, Bob Minkin, also from Canarsie, who's a popular photographer who's out west and does all these Grateful Dead books and stuff like that. So, of course, I have my SVT amp behind me that I lugged with me to come play acoustic with Jorma. My little pot belt buckle that my mom got me. and we played. I have the audio recordings and a few pictures. And then we did a number of other shows. We played in New Jersey at Circus Circus.
Let me show you something real quick. This is a shot that I took at the Lone Star Cafe. I took this. I have a couple of them. I took the shot at the Lone Star Cafe. This exactly matches up with the shot. But I don't see your amps on stage. But then again, back then he played there a lot.
This is, I believe, that might be Joe Stefko's drums, if I'm correct. Those white drums might be Joe Stefko's.
Could be.
This might be the time right before me with Mike Visiglia, I believe, and Joe Stefko, if I'm correct.
Right.
This is just a month or 2 before I played with him, I believe.
Got it. And then you ended up, because I saw, every time he'd play, I go see him. So I remember going to the 2001 disco, at 2001 nightclub or disco, whatever it was in Long Island. Saw him play. Saw you play with him. You know.
My mom was present at that show too. Rowdy, long show. I don't know how she tolerated it.
That was a rowdy. That was a
Holy
fucking rowdy
moly.
show, bro. And then another interesting show that I saw you play was this one, which was at the Ritz in New York, right?
Yes, after doing, we played 6 acoustic shows. And so I said, can we play electric? I said, listen, I have a drummer that knows all the shit. We don't need to do any rehearsals. Just just come.
We don't need to rehearse.
We don't need to rehearse. We don't need anything. And surprisingly, it went off amazing. The show at the Ritz, the place was packed with all my friends, Brooklyn, screaming, blah, blah, blah. It was, I wish I had a video of it. And the good thing was...
And who was playing drums?
Now, this is my drummer who I've played with, Hank Bergens, the guy with all the tattoos and the gold tooth. He's back over there. He actually almost killed Jorma because we were doing the sound check. Now, Hank was a powerhouse, a fucking monster double bass drummer. The feel of his bass, the air from the bass drums hitting your back fucking hurt. Little splinters from the sticks are flying everywhere. And he's always knocking over the cymbals. Sure enough, I'm standing there next to Jorma, and the next thing I know, I see off the riser, the fucking cymbal comes and almost decapitates him. And I was like, oh, shit. So we made sure they didn't fall during the show. But we did. We set up. We played for about 5 minutes, did a sound check. That show was really good. We did a lot of stuff from the Barbecue King album, and we busted out some old shit.
Did you do, you know what I seem to remember? Did you do Talking About You?
Now, Talking About You was one of the last songs. I
remember this.
I have to say, the smile on my face, because I said, okay, here we go. I said, I know we're going to jam now, because we did a bunch of songs. We did all the shit. We noodled a little bit. Yeah. But then it came to this part, and I said, okay, here we fucking go. We're going to be jamming. Right. So, of course, I have an 18-minute version of that song from the Ritz where, like, the second half, actually, as I say, goes into fucking hardcore craziness with Hank on the fucking double bass and fucking double timing and Jorma going ballistic. And the good thing I have to say, this is a noticeable thing I have to say as someone who's been around. We were pretty straight for this show, a little smoking, a little drinking. We were normal. That show was perfect. Nothing went wrong. Everything went smooth. But what happened the next night?
Was that at the Fountain Casino?
Fountain Casino out in Aberdeen, New Jersey.
The big
packed,
place.
Sold out fucking show, packed to the rims. But the problem with this show was backstage was packed, and mountains of the Bolivian marching powder everywhere and everything like that. So needless to say, during Jorma's acoustic set, one of his wires comes out. Ira Wilkes did someone, Richie's. Jorma's playing. Next thing you know, we got an acoustic show. Jorma comes backstage, and that fucking metal thing he plays the slide with, that bar, he uses a metal thing. He fucking comes in, smashes this big fucking mirror.
Ooh.
Now, Jorma's lit. Me too. Everybody runs out. I'm sitting there like, oh, Jesus Christ, here he is. He's on fire. And then we go on to play the electric set, which was okay. But at that point in the evening, everybody was lit, bad, and everybody around. We pulled off the show, and then he didn't really seem, there was something about that show that, I don't know, it maybe left a bad taste in his mouth. I wrote him a few letters afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't know if him and Hank kind of clicked it off us. There was something about Hank's attitude, the Brooklyn tattoo, drinking all the liquor and doing all the drugs.
But just to clarify, I mean, you guys are friends to this, that wasn't like the last time you guys ever interacted.
Absolutely not. I spoke to him right afterwards, and over the years, I played with him once on some ferry boat in downtown, some South Street Seaport thing. And then I went out to the Fur Peace Ranch a couple of years ago, and out in Ohio, a beautiful place. And I got to sit down and play a song with him. And I went out a second time for a second class, and I took a lesson with Pete Sears from Moon Alice, who
Sure.
holy
Well,
jeez.
Pete Sears, was in Jefferson Starship for friggin' years, man.
His work with Moon Alice and David Nelson Band, there's not a, he does, very creative man.
Hey, let's talk a little bit. We're doing a lot of Jorma talk, but after the split of Hot Tuna, Jack Cassidy does his thing, which is SVT, and with Brian Marnell. And I went and saw them play here in Manhattan, where I live, at a place called Privates. And it was a confusing time, for a young person who was just kind of getting into Hot Tuna, because go see SVT and like Jack Cassidy is playing like with a pick, and he's playing like, right?
It's the problem was you had like half the crowd was Hot Tuna fans expecting to see Jack doing Jack. But here he is doing something completely different and new with this new band, trying to fit in with the San Francisco scene where he lives and plays.
Right.
And I liked it. It was something different, but most of the Hot Tuna fans did not like it. I mean, there's no jamming, there's no blues. This is, punk rock, They were great. Yeah. I've seen that. I saw SVT open up for Kingfish at the Capitol Theater, right? Fucking killing it. After every song, not one, not a clap, not a fucking silence.
Yeah.
It's like it just didn't fit in, sort of. It had its own place, It
was too radically different than from where they came from. And I think also for a lot of the Tuna fans, they didn't have a reference point to it. To them, it was like back then when we grew up, remember, it was like, what are you? Are you rock or are you disco? And like, fuck punk rock, and it was like there wasn't a lot of overlap,
Everybody's changing their clothes, going to see SVT, trying to wear, some flashy punk rock clothes.
You want to see? Yeah, I got something interesting. You want to see some overlap, right? I was into all this stuff, and then I fell in with kind of the whole American hardcore thing, and I was part of the kind of Boston SSD Control skinhead crew and this and that. So here's a shot that I dug out. This is me driving a van. We're on the way to a Minor Threat show in 1982, and I'm driving. You could see me. I'm wearing the Hot Tuna vest, bro. I'm wearing my Hot Tuna America's Choice. I'm wearing my Hot Tuna America's Choice vest, and I'm like, I roll with this like total skinhead hardcore crowd.
I love it. I fucking love it. The Tuna guys are gonna love this shit to see that.
I never,
that's fucking cool.
I never like, not to, I never turned my back on the other stuff. There I am driving. My hair's grown in a little bit there, but you can see, who I'm rolling with. But that's what was up, man. I would wear that Hot Tuna vest to fucking like Bad Brains and Minor Threat shows, Yeah. So
somebody from the Hot Tuna page recently just sent me a leather jacket with that embroidered on the back. A guy named Robin Storm. He called me last night. Favorite logo.
Yeah.
That's
great. Hey,
as a musician, always experimenting with different music, not being so closed-minded. You always want to experiment and try and listen to different things and go to different concerts and see different music as much as possible.
Well, those were different times. They were challenging times. Things were a little more compartmentalized. Things were a little more segregated. It was like, the psychedelic crowd wasn't too into the fucking hardcore punk crowd, you know? Although, excuse me, of course, years later, and we've talked about this many times on the show, it's all about community and culture anyway. So it's like they're absolutely similar. It's in their own worlds, you know?
I mean, being back then in the Lower East Side, watching that scene grow, and now seeing what you've done over the years and what it's become, it puts a smile on my face. Watching some of your videos the other day and the documentaries you've done, and I have to say, and anybody that doesn't know, the Jews and the Blues is something that will have to be seen. And
well, part of the thing, which I want to, when we come back from the break, is that the impetus for me to make the film, The Jews and the Blues, was Jorma Kaukonen. And when we come back from the break, let's talk about that, okay? 2-minute quick sponsor break. I'll be right back. All right?
You got it.
What's happening? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and Upstate Records. They are a New York-based DIY independent metal and hardcore label. Founded in 2017, they broke into the scene with their inaugural 26-band compilation in 2018, and since then have churned out over 80 releases in their brief 5-year history. With such notable artists as Leeway, NYHC, Sub-Zero, Brick by Brick as part of their roster, Upstate Records maintains a focus on upcoming artists, as well as such artists as These Streets, Kind Eyes, Bovis, Life of Crime, and many more. In 2023, look for new releases by Mark Rizzo's new band Revenge Beast, Carl from Earth Crisis Freya, Fury of 5, Angry Corpses, and a few more surprises that are in the works. Check them out at www.upstaterecordsnewyork.com. Show the code STONE10 to get 10% off. Last but not least, DTFM Vinyl Distro. Looking for extreme music? DTFM Vinyl has got you. Located in 13th Ave in Fargo, North Dakota, we have the state's best selection of punk, hardcore, metal, ska, oi, and more. Can't make it in? Shop online anywhere in the country at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com. DTFM Vinyl, where the policy still is and always will be death to false metal. Hey, question time. If you have any questions for our guest, the birthday boy, Mr. Steve Austin, or any peripheral Hot Tuna questions, perhaps we can answer them. So people ask questions through the show. Please post them up again. We'll bring Steve back on. Just want to remind you, there's a super chat function. If you want to contribute something to the show, it comes through in color. Your question goes right to the front. Of course, the Patreon page. Please support the show on Patreon. Support the show that supports you. Let's bring our friend back on, a birthday boy, Mr. Steve Austin. Yes, GX.
Bad for 63, huh?
Yeah, yes. Give sponsors a follow. Leave a tip to Drew, you bums. Exactly. So let me explain something that some of our Hot Tuna friends out there I think will find really interesting about the Jews and the Blues. Coming off of a couple of the other films that I directed, I did the New York Hardcore Chronicles film, and I did Who the Fuck Is That Guy? The Fabulous Journey of Michael Lago.
Yes,
that was
great.
Thank you. That was on Netflix for a couple years. I was thinking about what I wanted to do next, and I really felt like I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do another film about the hardcore scene or whatever. I as an artist, I'm always looking for a bit of a challenge. So the word comes through, one of my other, Hot Tuna buddies, Mark Levine, tells me, yo, you hear this? Fucking Jorma is like rediscovered his Jewish roots. And he married a Jewish gal, and he's like observing the Sabbath, and like Jorma's in the mix as a Jew. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Now, listen, being a big Jorma fan and Hot Tuna fan, I know Jorma had like the rest of us. Jorma had a couple bumps in the road, in the late 70s, early 80s. And, thankfully he really, got it together, and he's led an incredibly fulfilling and vibrant life with Fur Peace
Actually, thanks to his wife,
Vanessa, right.
who we all
Right.
owe credit to for helping him get to this point.
So I'm thinking, I'm like, what? Fucking, I got to make it popped in my head, like, I got to make a film, The Last of the Great Jewish Bluesmen. And like, what started my idea process for the Jews and the Blues was really centered around guys like Jorma Kaukonen, who am I thinking of that he's played with that has the violin shop in Delaware? Wanted Dead or Alive. David Bromberg. David Bromberg. Steady Rollin' Bob Margolin, who played with Muddy Water. Like all these Jewish guys that are like steeped in the blues. And then there's other levels of it, like Leslie West, what's his name that sings for the Jay Giles band, and all that. So initially the film was going to really sort of look into sort of those guys and what, their whole world. And I got in touch with Jorma, spoke to Jorma, spoke to Vanessa, spoke to Jorma, and the film took a different kind of turn. I ended up going to Israel and shooting some stuff, and the film took a different turn. And it ended up being really, the film's about my musical journey, which turns into a bit of a spiritual journey. So yes, Peter Wolf, thank you. Yes, none, thank you, Peter Wolf, exactly. Who I talked to Peter Wolf. I talked to all these guys about being in the film, but the film just took a different turn. In the end, and the film turned out great. But Jorma was really the impetus to get this film done. And from time to time, I've reached out to Vanessa, having her back from her. But I gotta say, if there's one person or one subject that I would love to make a documentary about, it's Jorma Kaukonen. Jorma Kaukonen's career and his life, man.
You never know.
That's on my wish list, man. There's not many things that I haven't done that interest me at this point. That's one of them. That said, let's take a couple questions. Paul Karp says, my question for Steve, gun to the head, favorite Tuna studio album of all time.
Yes, I do love America's Choice, but I feel that Burgers was kind of like the crossover from the acoustic to the electric. I get heckled on that a little bit. Yes, America's Choice, what brought it to life and the Rampage, but still, Burgers, I think for most people, the catchy tunes, 99-Year Blues and, Ode to Billy Dean. Water Song is on that. Sea Child. That has some of the great classics.
Sea Child and Water Song are really incredible. Yeah.
Those are two of my favorite songs to even play.
Sure.
I'd love to sit and play those songs with my friends and by myself as well.
Yeah. Did Hot Tuna ever play in Mexico? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think so.
I don't recall anything. I don't think I've ever been down there.
What is this? KWA was named after Mickey Hart breaking wood? I don't know what that means. Is this the Falcon, the Lato Falcon? This is the Lato Falcon here, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah.
As I used to play with a Jimi Hendrix tribute band called Voodoo Child for about 15 years. And that was the main bass I used. I did buy a Flying V for a little while, but I mainly used that. A guy named Jimmy Blue, black left-handed guitarist. He used to play at the Rock and Roll Cafe once a week for like 2 years.
Wow.
And we played the tri-state area. But that my mother bought me that bass in '81, and the only thing I still have from that time. Very heavy. Again, touches on 13 pounds.
Yeah. So hold on. I'm sorry. I want to ask you about this bass, which is, let's see, Steve and you. Now this is the aluminum neck bass. This is different, right?
Let's see. That's my Kramer
Right.
8-string bass that I got with the aluminum neck and fingerboard. Always sharp when it was cold, always flat when it was hot. But it fucking roared, that bass. I used it both acoustic and electric over the years.
I remember that bass. It had a lot of knobs on it, right?
Yes.
I remember that. Tommy Max asks, what was your favorite playing experience, and how did playing with Jorma impact the way that you played, or what you picked up from that experience?
I'd have to say my favorite experience of playing with Jorma was the very first time going to his hotel room and just sitting with him quietly and playing. Only because the simple fact there was a time going around him with all these people and trying to get to Jorma and play with him, and I couldn't do it. And it's finally to the point where if you don't do it and ask a question and say, can I play with you? Can we do something? If you don't ask, and if it wasn't for me doing that, it wouldn't have happened. So even to this day, I tell everybody, don't be afraid to ask a question or to play with somebody, sit in or whatever it might be. Don't be afraid to ask. That first time was the most enjoyable, I have to say.
It's like the really good-looking girls that are always alone. It's because people are too intimidated to walk up to them and say, "Hey, what's up?"
No, man, I chit-chat. I talk to everybody. Now, there's nothing like playing on the stage under the lights with all the people. Yes, it's great. Something about that personal experience and leaving an impression on my playing. Again, I do play guitar also, other than bass. All my guitar player friends hate me because I can finger pick as good as them. So,
I can answer this one for you. Did he ever smash an instrument on stage? No, not this guy. This guy's not this. Steve Austin's not a guy that's going to be smashing instruments on stage. No.
I've banged him around and rubbed him on the amps and stuff like that and get all kinds of crazy shit. But to actually smash one and destroy it, no, I wouldn't do that.
Now I'm going through. I'm just putting up some pictures.
I've hit people with my fucking instruments, but I've never broken one. I kid you not. My Steinberger bass.
Here's a shot that I took on one of those cruises around Manhattan. It was, I think this is like 84. This is Jorma. That's Jorma on the right, and that's Joey Balin on the left. Yep.
I played on around that time, 1984, right before my first son was born. I played on one of those this boat with him. Both lit up pretty heavy, and I borrowed the bass from the opening band, and we did a couple of songs going around under the bridge.
That might have been the circle. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been literally the Circle Line.
Circle Line. There was something that took off from the seaport. There was some.
Yeah. This is 1984. Yeah, I took this picture. Yeah, and I've met.
That was fun.
You want to hear something interesting? So Joey Balin's sitting there on the left. Years and years and years later, I had Doro Pesch on this show, who's she's a German kind of, let's call her, she's a heavy metal singer, and I'm doing my homework to have Dora on the show, and I see that this guy Joey Balin produced a bunch of her records, and then later on, I was with Michael Arago, and I was walking through the village, and we stopped at this guy. We stopped at this store. This guy had a clothing store, and me and Alago talked to the guy a little bit. He's a friend of Alago's. We get halfway down the street, and he tells me, his last name's Joey Balin. Yeah, he's in. And I go, what? And we turn around and go back, and I said, I saw you play with Jorma Kaukonen on the boat in 1984. You know.
Yeah, that's those are some fun times back then. That was a good night, I remember.
Yeah. Is this is this bass that I've seen Cassidy this guild. Is this his? He has a sort of model, a line. What is this?
This is the original bass that he played was a Gibson Les Paul bass, which is that type of shape. But then he ended up working with Epiphone and designed his own bass with some special modifications. It's been in production, I'll say, about 22 years, and is the most popular and sold semi-acoustic bass at the moment. A lot of people
Is that right?
use that bass. I have one. I have a blue one. It's a short scale, but I like playing it. You know, with I play with a band called the Kakalaki Hackers, so it fits in with the bluegrass music. But
Right.
he gets his sounds. It's a great bass. Unfortunately, it's buried in the closet over there somewhere.
I've seen Hot Tuna a couple times in the past few years. Jack Cassidy is in great shape. He is the energy and the vibrancy with those shows. I've seen him duck walking across the stage, and he really.
He's like 78 years old. This guy on Facebook, he's posting shit of him setting up all this exercise equipment and doing reps, and he bike rides like he'll run circles around me and you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
no joke. Yeah.
You know who's another one? You know who's another one I see working out is fucking Bob Weir. You know, I see Bob Weir every day working out, and I'm like, ah.
I mean, these guys are in their late 70s, early 80s. The only way to keep doing this is to be in some kind of shape, a little bit, to some extent. Now, Jack, he's a small little guy, but he's very powerful, and he puts on a show for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's pretty much the last thing that I didn't post. I think it's interesting. It's a nice conversation piece. It seems like it's the ad from the Fillmore East, and 2 nights, Electric Hot Tuna, Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy, Papa John Creech, Will Scarlett, and Sammy Piazza with Taj Mahal opening. This has got to be probably 71, 72, you would think, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
And look what else is going on here. You got the Small Faces, the Grease Band, and Savoy Brown. I would like to have seen that. Black Sabbath. Wow. Great stuff.
I saw
here.
Savoy Brown around 73. They opened up for Deep Purple at the Felt Forum.
This is
and those guys recently played. The Savoy Brown guys recently played at Jorma's Fur Piece Ranch.
Is that right?
Lessons. Yeah,
that's Kim Simmons.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. I like this. Buddy Miles, Big Brother in the Holding Company in Sweetwater. I guess at this point, Big Brother in the Holding Company was like Big Brother without Janis Joplin, I would think, right?
Yeah. But look at all the different bands, the different styles. I mean, forget about it. Look who's there. Fleetwood Mac in 71. That's a different band.
Yeah, that's sort of the
different band.
Yeah, that's a different band. Peter Green was gone by then. So as we close here, I'll ask, you answer, and we kind of talked about this, but top 3 favorite like Tuna songs that you love to death.
I have to say, Sea Child is one of my favorite songs. I love playing that one. That has such a certain feel to it, and the sound. That one just hits you in the heart.
Sure.
The instrumental Water Song is, I would say, probably the defining Hot Tuna song. And Man's Fate, which is on the first album, where Jack gets, and that's a tricky guitar parts, and Jack really extends it. It's I'd have to say those songs are my favorite.
I think for me, I just sitting here right now, I got to go with Barroom Crystal Ball. Just because got to play. God forbid I pass away, that needs to be played. At my wake or whatever. Barroom Crystal Ball. I'm gonna throw in the mix. Embryonic Journey. From the Jefferson Airplane era.
That was in one of your ads that played. Embryonic Journey was on during your break. One of the ads played a little bit of Embryonic Journey.
Did it?
forget. Yeah. There's a little bit in the background, one of the clothing thing or something.
Huh. Did I do that? I don't know. I got to check that.
Yeah, no big acting.
And what else do I just, Funky Number 7.
That's the one. They still play that one live.
That's the launch pad, That's the launch pad.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I sure enjoyed it, and I want to wish you a happy birthday. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to thank?
First of all, thank you for asking me to do this.
I love it.
And like I said, over the past couple of weeks, I've been watching some of your videos and the work you've done, especially with the hardcore community downtown there. You guys have the best time. I'm so jealous. And the work that you do with your film working is hopefully we can get Jorma on board. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, if anybody out there's watching, feel free to drop Jorma, let Jorma know that you enjoyed the show.
Paul Carp, hit the elbow, please. Come on. And the only one I want to give a shout out to who asked was Michael Falzerano, Jorma's side man. He wrote, said, don't forget to mention me. So.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Mike Falzerano. We didn't even touch on him. Wow. You know what that means? I got to reach out to him and get him on the show. That's what it means.
He's busy working with everybody. He's been out working with David Grisman.
He was doing the new
David Nelson. Excuse me.
Yeah, he was doing the new writers thing for a while.
And the writers, yeah, he's busy. And the Jefferson. He just played in California. They did the Jefferson Airplane Family Band. He's involved in that, and Jorma's brother Peter plays bass in that band. As a matter of fact.
Wow. Slick
Aguilar on guitar from Starship, and so there's some things still happening.
Good stuff. All right, man.
You can stand and play.
There you go. All right, Steve. I'll talk to you soon, man.
It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to meeting you one day, buddy. Thank you very much again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Our guest today was Steve Austin from Canarsie. There's a lot we didn't talk about today. Our buddies from Biohazard from Canarsie, and it was great. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for being patient with me, regular show watchers. I know this was a little bit different for you. I know it was a little bit different, but we will be back kind of to our regularly scheduled programming a week from today with Andy Guida from Altercation, Super Touch, Absolution, Stillborn, and 6-3. So that said, thank you so much. It was good. I will be down in Florida. The Jews and the Blues is screening Saturday night. Is the closing film of the Palm Beach Jewish Film Festival. And then I'm coming back fucking Sunday morning on a flight because we are playing this show. It's free at the Bowery Electric, one of our beloved matinees on Sunday. So I hope to see you there. Thanks a lot, everybody. Yes, thank you, Joe Frank. I appreciate it. Thanks, Terrence. All such solid supporters of the show. I can't thank you enough. Thank you all. Thanks for being patient with me today and letting me veer off the path a little bit and have a guest that I was really excited about. Do good things and good things will come to you, my friend.